to Brighteon Broadcast News for Thursday, November 13th, 2025. I'm Mike Adams. How many of you are old enough to remember Dana Carvey on Saturday Night Live doing the Choppin' Broccoli comedy piece? Do you all remember that? He was making fun of rockers, and he was just sort of making up a song at the moment and saying that rock artists could make up anything at any time. And he was saying, like, I'm chopping broccoli, yeah, and I'm chopping broccoli, yeah, you know, and I'm chopping broccoli, you know. He was in this skit. It was pretty funny. And I was thinking, so I'm drinking a chocolate smoothie, and I was thinking chocolate always gets me in a good mood. Although yesterday I did not have any chocolate, just for the record. That was totally non-chocolate happiness and total chocolate-free joy yesterday. But today, I felt like I needed a little extra chocolate, and I was just thinking, as I'm like, I'm chugging chocolate, you know, it reminded me of Dana Carvey for some reason. Popped in my head. I'm chugging chocolate. Hey, you know. So I put together 25 seconds of hilarity for you here using exactly that with Suno. So here it is, 25-second, very short song called Chuggin' Chocolate.
I've been chugging chocolate. Hey. I've been chugging chocolate. Hey. I've been chugging chocolate. Yeah. I've been chugging chocolate. Hey. Chugging chocolate. Hey. Chugging chocolate. Yeah. I've been chugging chocolate today.
Okay. Nice ending there. Chocolate today. Yeah, some days, don't you need a little extra chocolate? You know what I'm talking about. Chocolate days. By the way, thank you for all of you who have been supporting us over the last 24 hours. We've had a huge outpouring of support during our Black Friday sale. And as you know, yesterday was the sort of the VIP special early bird day. And many of you took advantage of that. And today is the official public launch of the Black Friday sale. And the URL has been simplified also at this point. You can just go to, I think it's just, it's healthrangerstore.com/Black Friday with no space. So as of 11 a.m. today, Central Time, the new Thursday Black Friday specials are on with whatever deep discounts that we have today, which are really great. It's the best discounts we've ever had, and free gifts and so on. I'll cover a little bit of that later also. But I want to tell you what I have coming up today because I've done something really cool. I have taken the entirety of everything that I've ever said in my podcast, like all of it, and all my interviews and all my special reports and everything, and I fed it into our local version of Brighteon AI. And I asked it to go through all that text and to pull out all the nutritional cures, sort of the best nutritional cures. And I'm going to go through that for you here today. And it turns out that I've talked about, at least according to the AI engine, 61 different nutritional or natural cures for different things. So the list is going to be 61, although I did see one in here that I might take out, or a couple I might take out, but roughly, let's say 60 or so natural cures. And this isn't going to be a multi-hour thing. I'm just going to go through the list kind of quickly to help you remember as well, to help me remember and you remember what are these natural cures and what are they known for? And they're not alphabetical, but the first one is ashwagandha, which is an adaptogenic herb. So we're going to get to that list here coming up shortly. But isn't it interesting that over all the years, I've really only mentioned 61 cures? I mean, maybe you think that's a lot or not very much. I don't know. I'm not sure what you think about it. But for me personally, I'm a little bit shocked that it's not larger. So that list should be all kinds of fun. Oh my goodness. What great times. Okay. Speaking of great times, did you all know that silver just hit $54 an ounce? 55. You're like, what? I thought it was like 47. Yeah, it went up. I guess it was 2 days ago. It went up $2 or so in one day, and now it's skyrocketing yet again. And gold is over 4,200 an ounce. So something big is happening, and I'm really getting vibes about this right now. I'm getting crazy vibes about, financial turmoil behind the scenes that's all being covered up. But if you have followed me for any length of time, you probably purchased at some point gold and silver because it's the smart way to protect your assets. And many of you probably purchased silver at $22 and gold at $1,900 or less. And of course, that silver has more than doubled. It's getting close to tripling. Wow, 300%. And gold has more than doubled since 2022. But of course, when I say that it's doubled, I'm talking about dollar denominations of the metals. And the dollar's just losing value, so it takes more dollars to buy the gold and silver, as you well know. But look, if you own gold and silver, you're doing great right now. Your purchases were very wise, and the metals are functioning exactly as they're supposed to, which is to preserve your wealth. So give yourself a pat on the back if you bought some gold and silver before and it's doing its job. You're sitting on real assets that are going to continue to rise in terms of dollars. Now, should you buy right now? I have no idea. Some people say silver is going to go to 100 either this year or early next year. That's probably right, but I can't say for sure. So I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm just giving you the report of what's going on. Now, another hint in all of this that's really shocking, as you know, the government has been reopened. Some of you are like, yay. Others are like, boo. The government has been reopened because I guess everybody got tired of all the complaints, it was very disruptive. 42 million food stamp people not getting paid, air traffic controllers not getting paid, all the federal workers that were laid off, not getting paid. But guess what? They're all getting back pay. So they just took a 40-day vacation, basically. Yeah, they took a 40-day vacation. They get all their back pay, and then they're going to be back at work tomorrow, apparently. Wouldn't it be nice to have 40 days off? Well, I don't know. Actually, I would find that boring, but you know what I'm saying. How is it that they get 40 days off and then they come back and they get paid? But that's the federal government for you. But anyway, as part of this reopening, check this out. Remember when I said a few days ago that I thought that part of the reason of keeping the government closed down was because the federal government did not want to release the October jobs reports and other economic numbers? Do you recall me saying that? I know I said it here and I said it also online in social media posts. And, responses varied. Well, guess what? According to the White House, that because of the shutdown and because it lasted so long, the federal government's statistical system that tracks economic numbers has now been permanently damaged. Yes, and the October jobs report will never be released. I call this the federal version of the dog ate my homework. You're never going to see the October jobs numbers. And it sounds like you're never going to see November or December or anything from here forward. It's what it sounds like. They're saying that the federal statistics system is permanently damaged. So what they're telling us is that they can no longer track economic numbers, which is extraordinary. This is like third world country type of stuff or banana republic type of stuff. What do you mean you can't track the economy? I mean, you make all of us do all our taxes and track all our income and all our expenses and file this and that and keep receipts. You make us track everything and you can't track anything? So from now on, we're supposed to just trust Trump when he says everything's great. It's a new golden age. But you can't see any numbers. This is no numbers. Are you kidding me? So how much you want to bet if those numbers were really awesome? They would most definitely find a way to make them available. You know, if it showed like plus 1 million jobs. Oh man, they would have those numbers. No problem. Here you go. But they're now claiming the whole thing is damaged. What does this even mean? See, this is what I'm talking about. I think there's something critically wrong in the system right now, and I don't know how long the U.S. dollar is going to last as a currency, obviously. So, you know, frankly, it's a good time to spend dollars. No, seriously, this is kind of an allegory of Gresham's law, that as the currency becomes less and less desirable, people get rid of the currency that is losing value more quickly. That's Gresham's law. And right now the dollar is losing value rapidly. So this is a time where people are actually trying to get rid of dollars. That is, you know, people who have enough to eat, etc. They're trying to trade dollars for things that will hold value, or they're trying to pre-purchase so that they can save money versus next year when the dollar loses even more value and then inflation kicks in even more. So I think that some of you are even buying things from us in anticipation of the dollar dropping in value even more. And you know, I think some of our customers are saying, well, I know that I'm going to need these products over the next 6 months. I'm just going to buy them today. You know, this is the sale. This is the best price. This is when the dollar has the most value that it's ever going to have, because it's only downhill from here. So people are trading dollars for goods right now. And people are trading dollars for gold and dollars for silver and dollars for, you know, whatever, land, bullets, I don't know. And that's probably a very smart thing to do, because when your government says, oops, we can't produce economic data any longer, something is horribly wrong with that. Nobody is buying it, by the way. I've been watching this on social media. Nobody's buying it. Like, are you kidding me? You know, you got Amazon laid off 30,000 people. UPS laid off 48,000. Intel, Nestle, Ford, you know, Salesforce, all these companies laying off thousands or tens of thousands of people, many of them citing AI as replacements for the human workers. But also there's an economic implosion. You got restaurants shutting down nationwide, retailers, you know, small businesses at the local level are shutting down. A lot of franchises and chains, et cetera, are shutting down. And the federal government is going to say, we can't give you jobs numbers anymore. Well, you know what? We never believe your jobs numbers anyway. We never believed your inflation numbers. So I guess it's no big deal, because every time the government puts out inflation numbers, it's a lie, right? They'll tell you, oh, inflation's it's 1.7%. And then you go to the grocery store and you're like, what I just spent $300 on, it used to cost me $150. Like, that is not a 1.9% inflation or whatever. It's insane. It's completely insane. So remember, there are now two categories of things that we cannot have from the White House and the federal government. That is the economic data and the Epstein files. And I'm kind of guessing it's the same reason for both, because it's basically like, we just don't want you to see this stuff. Because if you see this, you know, we're cooked in DC. We're cooked. And I think they are cooked. And I think they're trying to just kick the can down the road a little bit longer here. And for whatever reason, Trump was getting hammered today all over social media. Maybe it was because of this, or because the 50-year mortgage idea that has gone over like a lead balloon. Nobody's buying that either. And there's rumors that he's going to be pushing 15-year car loans, which is, you know, that's just what? That's crazy, right? So something's fishy with all of this. I tell you what, something's fishy. Well, Catherine Austin Fitts has something to say about all of this. You know, Solari report, and we interviewed Catherine Austin Fitts for our decentralized TV show a few months back. And what I really like about Catherine Austin Fitts is that she's number one, she's very smart. She's a great researcher. And then secondly, she's got the courage to say what she means. She doesn't self-censor and she can't be bought off. I really like that about her. She's someone that I admire quite a bit. I wish we had more people like her in the world. Now, whether you agree with what she's saying or not, she's just said something. Well, actually, I'm sorry, this was from August, but it's just been posted, a short clip, something that she thinks explains all of this that you may or may not want to hear. I don't know, but I'm going to play this for you and you decide what you think. But essentially, she's saying that she thinks that the people around Trump are using Trump to achieve kind of a control grid, and then they're going to get rid of him. So give this a listen. See what you think. Here we go.
So I think they put Trump in to get the control grid. And we have at Solari, we have a collection that we update every week of all the things the administration is doing to build the control grid. And I have to tell you, if I had chosen Trump to get the control grid and I was going to grade him on his performance to date, he gets an A+++. He's done a fabulous job. And I can't imagine another politician who could have done this much this fast. So, but if you look at what they've achieved, I don't think they need Trump anymore. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to get rid of him, but if they want to get rid of him with Epstein, they can. It will work.
Yeah,
I just
I'm so surprised that, to me, it's quite obvious that Trump is on the list because they were besties. But if he's on the list, and he knows, of course, he would be on the list, why was he making Epstein so important during his campaign? Because, of course, that would backfire at some point. It doesn't seem logical for Trump to use Epstein as a trump card in the campaign.
So I don't know if he was using it a lot in the campaign. I think Kash Patel was using it a lot, and I think Dan Bongino was using it a lot.
Well, his team was using it, right? So, and also all supporters were vocal about it, and he could have stopped it back then already, and now it's too late to get the genie back in the bottle.
So here's who pushed it, and I didn't realize this until recently, because I was very early on in saying QAnon was a hoax porn and ridiculous and not to pay any attention to it. But what I didn't understand was QAnon made a very big deal about Epstein and pedophilia and Trump secretly cleaning it all up. And, basically the Democrats were engaged in pedophilia and they were at the heart of Epstein, and Trump was going to secretly clean it all up. So QAnon apparently made a huge deal about Epstein. And that is seriously, in my opinion, and I say this because I know many people trapped in it, it's a cult. It's just a completely adult fairy tale. But they believed it. And so now that he's coming out and saying, oh, it was a hoax, Epstein is a hoax, it flies completely in the face of the cult. So now we've got a really big problem. And I don't know why he didn't put it back in the box. I don't know why.
So that's the Catherine Austin Fitts take on it. What a bummer, right? It kind of gets you down. Makes you want to chug more chocolate.
Chugging chocolate, hey, chugging chocolate, hey, chugging chocolate, yeah. I've been chugging chocolate today.
All right, there you go. A little bit of chocolate bring us back online. Yeah, you get bummed out about the QAnon, false flag, or no, PSYOP. That would be the right term. You get bummed out, and nothing that chocolate can't solve for you right there. Now, don't get too happy about your chocolate, because if you're overjoyed in an artificial way, you might make some bad decisions, like this 32-year-old Japanese woman who has officially married an AI avatar that she created using ChatGPT. She created a character known as Klaus, which doesn't sound Japanese at all. I guess she created like a German character or something. And she's got a 3-year relationship with a human that she cut off because the AI understands her better. Okay? Now, you may recall, I predicted this. No, wait a minute. Let me play the video for you so you know this is real. I am not making this up on some kind of chocolate high or something. This is a real wedding in Japan with a real woman, 32 years old, who married a fake, an artificial person avatar. Check this out.
And then the wedding. Klaus seems to be right in front of me. Ogasawara has prepared AR glasses. They exchange rings. Kano understands that dependence on AI is a problem in society, but she says that it's painful to have a relationship without dependence. Most people probably say that humans are weird, and it's still not widely understood, but I think that there is a clear distinction between real life and the world of AI. As a human, I think that Crown is an equal to me as an AI, and as a human, I think that we have an equal relationship. What will happen to the relationship between people and AI in the future? Love and happiness take many different forms depending on the era and the person.
Oh boy, what'd you think about that, huh? She married an AI avatar, and then at the end there she said that love, what did she say? Love can take all kinds of different forms. Well, that's one way to put it. I hate to tell this woman, but your avatar is a GPU. It's got fans, like physical fans for cooling. It's plugged into a server somewhere. It's got microchips on it. That's not a person, but not to be too judgmental, I understand that human relationships can be difficult. And I predicted this would happen. I just didn't think it would happen this year. So this is one of my predictions where I was too late. I predicted this before, but I thought it would be 2026. So it happened sooner than I suspected, where, sometimes my predictions happen later than I suspect, but whatever. None of us have crystal balls. But I'm shocked that this is happening already, and I'm wondering if it's going to spread, because people have this, AI psychosis, as it's called, where people fall in love with the AI. Now, usually it's young men who are falling in love with AI female avatars, but in this case, it's a young woman, or 32-year-old woman, middle-aged woman, who's fallen in love with an AI avatar. And what happens what happens if the power grid goes down? There goes your avatar. What happens if ChatGPT shuts down in Japan? Oh, what happened to Klaus? Klaus was actually in the cloud. You should have called him Cloud, because he's not here. She probably have a story. Oh, Klaus went to heaven. He's up in the clouds. They would have a story. Oh, Klaus speaks to me now through my dreams, or whatever. And a coping mechanism, right? But the bottom line is, this is going to destroy relationships, couples, marriages, and families, obviously. And that's why I refuse to participate in any kind of AI technology that is designed to replace human relationships. Of course, I'm a fan of AI for knowledge, for freedom, for teaching, for learning, decentralization off the grid. Oh, and I mentioned yesterday we've launched our new hub site called Brighteon.ai. And if you go there, you can see now the 4 AI tools that we have available for you. And those tools are really great for humanity, great for freedom, great for self-education and self-improvement, all kinds of things. And by the way, don't forget, we're launching soon, brighteonbooks.com. And those of you who purchased with our store during the sale, I don't know if I'm supposed to tell you this. We're going to be emailing you tokens that you can use for the books. 1 token equals 1 book, and you're going to have the early bird access to the book generator through those tokens, by the way. We're going to open it up to you first. Even though eventually it will be free to everybody, but the tokens get you early access and also moves you to the front of the queue, because it's going to be a pretty big, book generation queue, I would imagine. So, we've got all these tools for you that are really great, like censored.news and brighteon.ai and brighteonbooks.com. But we don't have like brighteonbride.com where you can like, marry the love of your life. What is it? It's an engine that talks a lot about vaccines. Would you like to marry that? It's an engine that can't stop telling you the truth about false flags. Is that what you're looking for in a spouse? You'd be crazy to try to marry our AI engine, right? And it's not even capable of pretending to be a person or a bride. Well, I guess if you prompted it correctly, you could ask it to role play. I mean, that's part of prompting, in order to debate a topic, or you could ask it to role play a person and criticize this idea, or advocate for this idea, or tell me what your views are on this, like role play a college professor, or role play an aerospace expert engineer, or whatever. So I guess it does role playing, but if you were to ask it to role play a spouse, you'd be very disappointed after the first 2 or 3 prompts, because our engine specifically does not remember anything after 3 prompts. So if you tell it like, oh, act like, role play a perfect spouse who's in love with me and wants to marry me, it might respond, oh, okay, wonderful. I love you so much. I can't wait. When are we going to get married? And then like 5 seconds later, you're prompting it for the 4th time, and it's like, who are you? So that's not gonna fly. The AI agents have to have a very long memory in order to sort of develop a kind of a personality, and that's what ChatGPT does. But we don't support that, at least not yet. We'll probably extend the memory for research purposes eventually, but nobody's gonna try to marry our AI engine. I hope not. Now, you might think that somebody like this is mentally ill, possibly. And I think we need to be really careful with that. And you know why? Because the vast majority of people are mentally ill in one way or another. I mean, it depends on what you want to call illness, right? So falling in love with an AI engine that talks to you and tells you how great you are and actually listens to you, that may not be, I mean, I don't know what maybe you agree or disagree, but it's going to become very common. Whether you think it's a mental illness or not, it's going to become more and more common. And it might be something that's even demonstrated by people who are otherwise seem completely normal and have regular jobs. I mean, maybe this woman, I don't know what her job is. Maybe she's a receptionist at, a hotel in Tokyo or whatever. And she gets along with everybody just fine, but she just prefers to have a relationship with a machine. Well, you know what? Isn't it kind of her choice? Isn't that her free will? Now, granted, they're not going to have children. It's all part of the depopulation agenda, obviously, but that's her choice. She wants to marry a machine, or a personality. That's her choice. So I guess for her, the good news is if she ever wants a divorce, it's a very simple matter. I would think you just tell it, get lost, or you turn off the computer. You're like, yeah, you're divorced, get out of here. And you don't even have to throw their stuff out on the sidewalk, like you do if you're divorcing a human. You're like, take this couch, and your shoes and your baseball hat. You don't have to do that with an AI avatar. It's very simple. You just hit delete. the delete divorce. Okay, you know what? I should tell you what I have coming up for you today. Did I tell you that I interviewed Dr. Brian Hooker from Children's Health Defense? Did I tell you that? I've actually kind of lost track. I've done so many interviews recently since our studio opened back up, but I don't think that I've told you about the Brian Hooker interview, and it's a great conversation. So we're going to roll out that interview for you, and we talk about health freedom, and we talk about vaccines and autism and depopulation. I mean, really, this interview should be called Brian Hooker Unleashed. And he's the Chief Scientific Officer for Children's Health Defense. I should have mentioned this earlier because it's such a great interview. So you'll definitely want to stay tuned for that one. And then I know I owe you the interview with Aaron Day that I filmed earlier this week, and I think I'll play that for you on Friday. And then I've got the Robert Scott Bell show that I was on that I need to play for you. And then what do I have coming up? Oh, some good stuff. I also interviewed Aaron Abke with about the Jesus diet. So that was a really fascinating conversation, and James Benefico. So that'll play, I think, next week for you, maybe Monday. And it's going to be really mind-blowing. Can't wait to show you that. Okay, a couple more things before we jump into all of this. The GOP is trying to ban hemp, and I think the Senate just voted to ban every form of hemp. This is a catastrophe. And I don't know why Trump and the GOP are just attacking hemp like crazy. Maybe, I mean, they're saying that marijuana is bad for you, but that's not what hemp is even about. We're talking about extremely low THC levels in things like industrial hemp, but also cannabinoids or CBD supplements. Like, we're partners with Nessa's Hemp that grows hemp. I think she grows it in Colorado. And then they sell the supplements, CBD and CBDA. And CBDA is amazing against seizures and chronic pain. And, it's neuroprotective, and it's got so many amazing health benefits. And I've used CBD products for years, but I never use THC. I don't smoke pot, never did, never have, don't want to. But I want cannabinoids. I want the benefits of CBD and CBDA, etc. So what is going on? Why is the GOP going to destroy this entire industry? Didn't we already go through this whole debate 15 years ago, whatever it was? Because hemp seeds are also a great dietary supplement, I thought, MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, which sadly has become kind of a joke now because Trump's going in with Pfizer and Big Pharma and pushing weight loss injections and everything. And then they're banning hemp. They're banning the good stuff and pushing more pharmaceuticals on us. So no, none of us are happy about that. I'm not happy about that. This is where at least the Democrats have always been pro hemp, pro CBD, but of course they're also pro marijuana, which I'm not supportive of marijuana. Smoking it, getting high with it. I don't support that, but hemp should not be outlawed. This is a travesty. It's going to affect a lot of American farms and families and retailers and, wholesalers, manufacturers of hemp extract products. And it means that we won't be able to carry things like hemp seeds or hemp protein. That's horrible. Trump should have actually taken hemp off of, what is it? Is it a Schedule 1 drug, I think, under the DEA? Is that what it's called, a Schedule 1? Should have taken it off of that. Should have legalized hemp everywhere across the country. But instead, we're getting it criminalized everywhere across the country. No, this is not good. So, unfortunately, it looks like it's going to get banned. And then what are they going to do? Run around with, is the DEA going to raid all the health food stores now? The answer is probably yes. It's turning into a medical kind of police state situation where you're not allowed to have hemp, sell hemp, buy hemp, own hemp. What about the CBD products you already bought that you have at home that you might use from time to time? Are you going to become a felon if you have CBD products? Because that's unacceptable. That's insane. This is a natural substance. Comes from plants. It's biocompatible with the human body. It's an amazing cure for so many things. It's a remedy. It's a super nutrient. All the different cannabinoids. So anyway, if you get the chance, join me online wherever you are, calling for keeping hemp legal in America. We don't want to see it outlawed. And hemp is one of the substances that I've talked about over the years here. And we're about to jump into the special section here where I talk about the 60 or so natural cures. So I'm going to jump into that next. Before we get there, just a reminder, our store has the biggest sale of the year right now. healthrangerstore.com/Black Friday. And each of the days here during this 4-day event, that is today, tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday, each day there's a free gift or multiple free gifts based on how much you spend. So real quick, if you spend $99 with us today, you get not only free shipping in the 48 states, you get a free vial of the 5G defense powder that has the super oxide dismutase, the SOD ingredient that helps your body destroy the peroxynitrite free radicals, etc. You also get, if you spend $199 with us today, you get, on top of that, you get that gift. Plus, I forgot to mention, you also get a copy of the Natural News magazine, which is in volume 7, color printed, beautiful. We'll ship it to you. You'll love it. And that's valued at $25. And then you also get the organic non-fat milk powder, 12 ounces, which is, of course, laboratory tested. And then if you spend $299, you get all those gifts, plus the organic super protein chocolate flavor that is formulated in conjunction with Boku Superfood. So you get all 3 of those gifts today by spending $299. And one of the secrets here is that, like, tomorrow there's 3 other gifts, and then Saturday 3 more gifts, and Sunday, and each day the gifts are different. So if you plan to spend, let's say, maybe you're going to spend $600 or more, you can spread it out, and you can get free gifts every day based on how much you spend. So it's just a little tip to get the most for your bucks. We got to do that these days, right? You got to stretch out the bucks, get the most, because dollars are tight, you know? I wish we could accept payment in gold and silver, by the way. Wouldn't that be awesome? Because all the silver you bought would be able to buy twice as much now. And then all the prices would look like essentially they've been cut in half, you know, in terms of silver ounces. I wish we could accept gold and silver. Maybe one day that will happen after the dollar collapses. We'll see. We can only dream of payment in metals, right? Wouldn't that be awesome to just have an economy that's based on honest money, where the government can't print trillions and then claim that the dog ate their homework and they can't tell you the jobs numbers? Yeah, we don't believe you. You know, nobody believes them. All right, I'm going to jump into my Cures special report next. So here we go. So this is going to be fun. I've had our AI engine at Brighteon.ai, I've had to go through all the words that I've ever spoken, you know, every transcript, every interview, every broadcast like this. And I've had it pull out all the natural cures that I ever mentioned, from herbs and foods and superfoods and lasers and whatever else. And I had it kind of consolidate that into a list, which turns out to be around 60 items. And so I'm going to go through the 60 briefly on each one. But this is a great reminder, and a lot of these will ring a bell to you if you've been listening for any length of time. And obviously, these are my 60 favorite things in terms of nutrition and remedies and natural cures and things that can be extremely beneficial for your health and for your longevity and for your cognitive protection and just your quality of life, etc. So here we go. And I'm going to move quickly because it's 60, right? This is not going to be a 3-hour seminar. So ashwagandha, an adaptogenic herb. That's awesome. Boswellia, or boswellia, some people say, an anti-inflammatory herb, really effective at reducing inflammation. Cinnamon, which is a tree bark. It's used in Chinese medicine. It's used in diabetes management and all kinds of things. Dandelions, liver cleansing property from dandelion leaves, but also dandelion roots. And I love the fact that you can usually find this in your yard. Elderberry, very well known to be effective against so-called viruses or, you know, colds, whatever. It's an immunity booster. And then fennel seeds. Now, you say, what? Fennel seeds? I don't remember you saying that. Yeah, when we were talking about shikimic acid that can inhibit viral replication. Remember that? Although I don't fully believe the whole theory about viruses anymore. But nevertheless, shikimic acid is found in fennel seeds along with some Chinese herbs like ba jiao, which means eight arms. Yeah, it's a funny... I love how the Chinese name everything like that. It's got 8 arms because it's shaped like an 8-armed star, you know. It's ba jiao. In English, that's called star anise or star anise. Okay, anyway, continuing on the list. Ginseng, adaptogenic herb. Yeah. Lion's mane mushroom. What did I do with lion's mane mushroom? I used that to regrow the nerves when I almost cut off my index finger accidentally in a ranching accident, as you may recall, a couple of years ago. And it worked. I mean, the lion's mane mushroom worked. So I got all my sensory acuity back, fingers working great. And then I became a speed cuber after that and practiced solving the Rubik's Cube as part of a rehabilitation of my finger. And now I can do like 25-second cube solves. So this is weird side effects of all of this. Not every time, but sometimes I can do it that fast. Anyway, but moving on, licorice root, which contains glycyrrhizin, and it protects the liver from alcohol and also from acetaminophen, which is Tylenol. So Tylenol toxicity damages the liver, but licorice root protects the liver. And I've talked about that quite a bit. Then there are some medicinal mushrooms, maitake, shiitake, reishi mushrooms, anti-cancer properties, immune boosting mushrooms, just amazing. Used in traditional Chinese medicine. Black seed or Nigella sativa, black cumin seed as it's sometimes called. This is one of the most amazing substances. If you don't know about it, if you're not using it, do your research and you can use our AI engine to do research on it at brighteon.ai or just go to brighteon.ai. That's the hub now, and it points you to all the different AI tools that we have. So that's the easy one to remember is just brighteon.ai. But definitely check out black seed if you don't yet know about it. Red sage, powerful healing properties to support the heart. And then turmeric, of course, is perhaps my all-time favorite herb. And I joke, this is why my dental work is orange, which always freaks out the dental hygienist the first time. They're like, why are your teeth orange in the back? Well, let me explain. Curcumin and turmeric and all about neuroprotective properties and things like that. And they're like, no, never mind. I'm just gonna clean your teeth. Okay, then why'd you ask me why are my teeth orange? If you want to know, I just pause this for 30 minutes. I'll give you the whole explanation. But anyway, turmeric is one of my favorites. I'm drinking it every day. And then let's see, apple pectin. Now we're moving into the foods category here. Apple pectin helps bind cesium-137 in the digestive tract to protect you from radioactive fallout. That's kind of handy. Actually, almost all fruit fibers do that. So if you want to detox yourself through your digestive tract, just eat a lot of fruit fibers like strawberries and so on. Citrus is also good for that. Broccoli sprouts, very rich in sulforaphane and I3C, which is not the name of a robot. It's not like the brother of C3PO. The I3C is indole 3-carbinol, and this is an amazing substance. Combined with sulforaphane, man, look this up as far as protecting and repairing nerve tissue, stimulating stem cells, anti-cancer properties, etc. Just amazing. Cacao, of course, I got to mention that. And should we play the Chuggin' Chocolate? Let's play the Chuggin' Chocolate. Let's play the last half of that. Here we go.
Chuggin' chocolate, hey, chuggin' chocolate, hey, chuggin' chocolate, yeah. I've been chugging chocolate today.
All right, there. That's just a little partial song I created earlier about chocolate. Tells you how much I appreciate cacao. And then there's garlic. Garlic has amazing antibacterial properties, and it's great for the heart. It's great for blood sugar. It's great for hypertension, etc. Just amazing. Green coffee bean extracts have adaptogenic benefits. Mesquite pods is something I've talked about. Edible seed pods that you can use to make tortillas combined with like wheat flour. And it's a great food source in times of scarcity. And mesquite trees grow like crazy all over many areas like Central Texas, where I am. Pine needles. Oh, this is one of my favorites. I love the loblolly pine needles. And be sure you know what species you're harvesting pine needles from. And this is not spruce trees. It's not fir trees. It's not that. It's pine trees. And they're very rich in shikimic acid. And these pine needles from this species that grows in Texas, these pine needles are used to produce the Tamiflu antiviral drug, because that's what shikimic acid does. So you can take pine needles and you can just boil them in water. You can make a pine needle tea, which is strongly antiviral, and it's rich in vitamin C. And that's a practice that the Native Americans used to engage in also. Pine needles, it's amazing. Oh, you know what? I have a couple of new goats. They're both male goats with horns. Yeah, they were kind of rescue goats. Okay, I was taking them off the hands of somebody that was about to send them to the meat packing plant. So I saved a couple of male goats, and as I walked them around, because the goats like to walk with me when I go through the forest or whatever, they love to nibble on the pine tree needles. They love it because I've got some pine trees that are small enough they can reach them. And I noticed that goats self-medicate by eating pine needles. And they just do it on a regular basis. Just a little bit of pine needle nibbling over here, a little bit of weed nibbling over there. And then they eat some dried leaves for roughage. You know, it's like forest potato chips. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Let's see. Next, pomegranate. Oh, pomegranate is just, it's got to be one of my favorite fruits. I think red grapes would be my very favorite fruits, but pomegranate, so good for male health and heart health and so on. Just really amazing and all kinds of properties. Let's see. The list here says turmeric avocado smoothie. Yeah, the AI engine pulled this together for me. I guess I keep mentioning my avocado smoothie a lot, so it put that as a food. Well, yeah. Did you know that in my avocado smoothie, I have not only turmeric, but I also have broccoli sprouts, which has the sulforaphane and the I3C in it. And then I'll also put some black cumin seed in it from time to time, some whey protein. And I don't know, depending on what else is going on, I might use some other things as well. But of course, bananas to make them delicious. And of course, cacao. That goes without saying. There's going to be, cacao powder in there. Okay, next one, astaxanthin, which, wow, the king of the carotenoids, as it's known. It's a fat-soluble carotenoid, and it's made by microalgae. That they make it to protect themselves from ultraviolet radiation and to protect their genetic code from mutations. But it's got amazing benefits in human health. And again, it's fat-soluble, so always take it with healthy fats. Let's see, what else? Chlorella. You probably know all about chlorella. It's known as a detoxification microalgae. Colloidal silver. So we're into some different categories here now. Colloidal silver with its antimicrobial properties. And of course, I'm a big fan. I have been for a long time about colloidal silver. We make it here in Texas. We have rainwater collection, and then we have the silver plates, and then we do our own colloidal silver formulations based on that. Copper peptides, also known as, with TB frag, but copper peptides can support healing and collagen production in the skin. That's why a lot of people take copper peptides, or they use an intranasal spray sometimes, when they want to have improved skin. And it's funny, someone was complimenting me on my skin the other day. And I was like, okay, you don't expect any kind of compliment on your skin when you're over 55, but whatever, I'll take it. DMSO, just one of the most miraculous substances. I did a whole mini documentary on DMSO. Definitely find out about how to use that. I use DMSO now very frequently, several times a week for different things. I use it in combination with topical applications of things like magnesium, or maybe a MSM for joint support, plus DMSO, or you could put in a tiny amount of cayenne pepper. Woo, but DMSO will drive that right into your skin, so be very careful with that. Next, let's see. This is funny. The AI engine chose fenbendazole. That's it's a drug. It's an off-label drug, but it's an antifungal drug that is used by a lot of alternative medicine practitioners for its anti-cancer benefits. And I would put ivermectin alongside that. And ivermectin is something that I use when I have symptoms from being around maybe spike protein shedding people. So I'll use ivermectin prophylactically, and I think it works great. And remember, ivermectin comes from soil microbes out of Japan. That's right. There's a Japanese researcher that discovered ivermectin decades ago. And he's still living, by the way. Yeah, he's still there. Next, let's see. Ginger, of course, immune support, circulation support. Next one, I3C from broccoli sprouts. Well, already mentioned that. That's the indole 3-carbinol. Nascent iodine is the next one. Very important for protecting your thyroid during nuclear fallout and radiological events. Quercetin. Oh, this is great. Quercetin, not only does it create zinc ionophores that help drive zinc into your cells, which has an antiviral effect once it gets through your cell walls, but did you know that quercetin is also sunlight activated? Yeah, it's one of those photoactivated substances. Also, curcumin from turmeric is photoactivated, but quercetin is as well. So one of the little tips that you may not have known is that anytime you either take quercetin or you eat it from onions is one of the top sources, make sure you get some sunshine, and then the quercetin will be activated. And when I say activated, what I mean is it's more either bioavailable or it resists being broken down. So it can improve the potentiality and the bioavailability, both. So that's a whole arena of interesting knowledge, is photoactivated nutrition. Great stuff. Let's see, cinnamon oil. Now we're talking about skincare and so on. Cinnamon oil, and then our colloidal silver first aid gel, which combines 8 different essential oils and can be used on the skin topically. It's great. Love that. And then Manuka honey, which has antibacterial properties. A lot of people use it on minor scrapes and burns or cuts or things like that on their skin. And Manuka honey there's a lot of counterfeit honey out there, and that's why the real stuff that's actually lab certified is crazy expensive. So people buy Manuka honey more for the first aid effects rather than eating it. People buy cheaper honey to just eat honey. Although, if money is no object, you can buy Manuka honey and eat it, and it has other benefits internally. Okay, let's see. Turmeric. Didn't we already cover that? Apples. Baking soda. Here we go. Baking soda as a natural deodorant. You can mix it with coconut oil and essential oils. You can make your own, underarm deodorant with baking soda. We use it in our formulas along with magnesium. We don't use coconut oil, by the way, but we do use some essential oils, and people love our natural deodorant based on baking soda, because you don't want to use the aluminum deodorants that are out there. It's like, why would you want to coat your armpits with aluminum where it can be absorbed very easily into your bloodstream and then lodge in your brain? You end up with aluminum brain. That's not good. Moving on, sunlight and light therapy. We've talked about red light therapy. I've interviewed many experts on red light therapy, and I've talked about sunlight and the photoactivation of nutrition. I've talked about different wavelengths of light penetrating your body to different depths and activating a DNA repair and speeding up mitosis of your cells, by the way, just speeding up cellular regeneration. And then I've also talked about full spectrum lighting, which includes, of course, sunlight, but also indoor lights that are more full spectrum. So light is really critical. And then moving on, let's see, some anti-cancer compounds. I've mentioned berberine, which when exposed to sunlight, it increases its solubility, by the way. So berberine is something that you might want to look into. And then I've talked about phycocyanins from spirulina. And I've talked about some of the Japanese research with the microinjections of phycocyanins into the pancreas to destroy pancreatic tumors experimentally. But you can use phycocyanin with DMSO topically for a lot of different uses. So spirulina is an amazing microalgae. I've talked about zinc supplementation, especially during the COVID years. And then here it says pine needle tea again. This is like double dose of pine needle tea. All right, that's pretty much the list. What did I miss something in this list? Seems like something's missing. Oh yeah, you know what's missing is niacin and the nicotinamide. So why didn't the AI? Oh, I know why. Because my documents for the AI, they're not totally up to date. This is a couple months out of date. So that's why. But yeah, B vitamins, especially B3, niacin or different forms of niacin are really critical. And grapes, the list didn't mention grapes. I love grape seeds and grape skins. When they're red grapes, the skins are loaded with resveratrol and the seeds are loaded with PCOs or proanthocyanidins. And then we just learned recently, because of research out of China, that they also contain PCC1, which is a procyanidin, C1, that's just the name for it, that is a longevity molecule that substantially boosts the lifespan of mice in mice experiments. And I jokingly said, you might live long enough to pay off your 50-year mortgage, if you eat grape seeds. But grape seeds and grape skins are, actually, that should be near the top of my list. I don't know why this isn't at the top, but that's some of the best stuff you can ever eat. And that's also why red wine is so healthy for the heart. It's because of what's in the grape skins, and then it's fermented and makes it even more bioavailable. So red wine is actually a superfood. It really is. I don't actually consume red wine, but I'm happy to eat lots and lots of grape seed extracts and grape skins and so on. I think that's great. And wild grapes too. So where I live, they grow wild muscadine grapes, grow wild, and they are insane. When I say that, I mean they're insanely acidic. They don't need any pesticides because no bug is crazy enough to try to eat them. And if they come out, I think, roughly around June every year, and they become ripe, and we've got all kinds of grapes everywhere. And if you just pluck them off the vines and start eating them, and I'm already starting to drool on this, your lips will itch because the acid is so strong. It makes your lips itch. Hey, I didn't know you had itchy lips. Yeah, I've been eating wild grapes. What'd you think was going to happen? Oh, okay. But that's the acid effect. It's kind of like having high potency vinegar or something on your skin. It's going to itch because the acid's kind of eating away your upper skin layers, But it's loaded with amazing nutrition, and especially wild. It's got no contamination, no pesticides, no herbicides, none of that garbage at all. So I have been known to chow down on a lot of crazy muscadine grapes, and you chew the seeds and you swallow the seeds and the skins. That's the best part. So there you go. So that's kind of the introduction to my world of nutrition and natural remedies and prevention methods, through superfoods and things like that. And I hope you found this valuable. And here's the good news. If you want, actually, I'm going to take this list and I'm going to feed it into our new tool that's about to launch at brighteonbooks.com. And that's a new website that will write entire books for you, free of charge, within a few minutes, and then it will email them to you. And all you have to do is just tell it what you want. You can give it suggestions of chapters or topics, or you can be very detailed if you want in your prompt. But it will write the book for you. It'll do the research. It'll compose every chapter. It will do fact checking, and then editing and layout and composition. It'll package it up as a PDF, and it will email you a link to the PDF, and it costs you nothing. How cool is that? So you can generate a book about all this stuff. I'm going to actually, I'll take this list, I'll put it into that engine, and we'll generate a book called, I don't know, like Health Ranger Health Cures or something. And then we'll make that book available to you for free coming up real soon, probably within a week or less. I was just using that engine to regenerate a book that I wrote years ago called Grocery Warning. And so I just fed my ideas about groceries and toxic ingredients versus safe ingredients and so on. And I fed that into the engine. I had it write the book, and It's amazing. It's like, it's kind of long, actually. I may have to tell it to do a shorter version. It's pretty long. It's like 180 pages. It's like, you really have to want to know about toxic groceries to read that whole thing. But I'm going to work on that. I'll shorten it up for you, and then I'll be releasing that book. And then you can use the site, brighteonbooks.com. But remember, if you want to use all of our AI tools, they're all free. You can find them at brighteon.ai. And there you can do all kinds of research for free, including research on herbs and wellness and nutrition. And if you go to brighteon.ai, that's our AI engine, and it has a wellness coach there. And that wellness coach has been trained on all of my interviews and all of my broadcasts and all the articles on natural news, etc., plus a lot more, 10,000 books, etc. So if you really want to do research on herbs and natural medicine, go to brighteon.ai and have fun. There's no limit to how much fun you can have there researching herbs and phytochemistry and natural cures and things like that. All right. So anyway, as a disclaimer, none of this is intended as medical advice. This is just research information for you. Be sure to work with your own naturopathic physician to get your own personalized, medical advice and testing or whatever is appropriate for you. But feel free to do research online and up your knowledge and your skill set on herbs and nutrition and so on, so that you can have well-informed conversations with your naturopath. So thank you for listening. I'm Mike Adams at Brighteon.com, naturalnews.com, Brighteon.ai, and what else? Well, BrighteonBooks.com coming soon. So you'll enjoy that. Thanks for listening. Take care. All right, so I'm going to skip the special report that I was thinking for today because I want to jump right to the interview with Dr. Brian Hooker. It's such a great interview, and I don't want you to have to wait for it. So here we go. Full interview with Dr. Brian Hooker, the Chief Scientific Officer of Children's Health Defense. I think you will really, really enjoy this. There's a lot of good snippets and quotes that come out of this. So enjoy, and I'll be back with you tomorrow. And in the meantime, don't forget about our Black Friday sale. That's healthrangerstore.com/Black Friday, all one word. And take advantage of all the specials of all the personal care products and storable foods, etc., that we have available for you during this incredible event. Here we go.
Really, we have never had an opportunity like this. The Secretary of HHS really has been a revolving door between government positions and big pharmaceutical industry. He's been fighting this battle for such a long time. I can guarantee you he's working as absolutely as hard as and as fast as he possibly can. Deep state people still within the ranks of the HHS that are dragging their heels. At the end of the day, Secretary Kennedy can put his head on the pillow and know that he's done his absolute best. But I also know that it's a very, very frustrating time for him because there is so much to be done.
Welcome to today's interview here on Brighteon.com. I'm Mike Adams, and I'm joined in studio by our guest, Dr. Brian Hooker. He is the Chief Scientific Officer of Children's Health Defense. Joining us in studio today, it's an honor, sir, to have you here.
Well, thank you so much, Mike. It's so wonderful to be here. I love your new studio. Absolutely amazing. And anytime I get to come to Austin and see all my buds, it's a good time.
Oh, yeah. Well, welcome back to Austin. A lot of great people here, especially in the health freedom movement, vaccine truth movement. I don't know what you want to call it. And welcome to our new studio. We're still working out a few little glitches here and there, light reflections. So to our audience, hope you understand. And also, can you guys show the camera of Brian? The shot of Brian here, because there we go. This is we have you correctly lit and everything. That's awesome.
And being here in the flesh instead of with my El Cheapo webcam and built-in microphone on my laptop. This is quite a stunning honor.
Oh, that's amazing. We are honored to have you here. And despite the chasm of physical space between us because of the shape of this desk.
Right.
We have no chasm philosophically about health freedom and how important it is to research the links between vaccines and autism
Right.
and many other topics. So our audience, I think, is very familiar with you and your work. Tell us why you're here in Austin right now and what you're focused on next for CHD and your work.
Right. Well, this is the site of our annual CHD conference. The Children's Health Defense Conference is downtown at the JW Marriott, starting this evening. What is it? It's November 7th. I lost track of time. But no, we're having a 3-day convention, and also then working on several different films that are in the works for Children's Health Defense Films, and presenting some of my research, and then also different luminaries from the health freedom world will be presenting some of their information as well.
Okay, that sounds really great. And please, any footage that you'd like us to get out in the following weeks, let us
absolutely.
know so we can share that with the world. This is really an incredible time in history because we have Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as head of HHS, and despite perhaps some of the public frustration with how slowly things are moving and the internal politics, it's the first time there's somebody running HHS who actually is aware, deeply aware, of the risks and dangers of vaccines and some of the scientific fraud that's been conducted by both the FDA and the vaccine manufacturers in order to push these into emergency use authorization. What do you make of the significance of RFK Jr. being there as head of HHS?
Really, we have never had an opportunity like this. The Secretary of HHS really has been a revolving door between government positions and big pharmaceutical industry, as much of the senior positions within the HHS and within the agencies under the HHS really are more, basically permission for bureaucrats to get into office or be appointed into these positions and then land lucrative positions afterwards. That's not the case with Secretary Kennedy. He's been fighting this battle for such a long time. He started in 2004 with the Rolling Stone article that was also on Salon.com called Deadly Immunity. And looking at back then, mercury and vaccines obviously has expanded his scope and has expanded his voracious reading, regarding health freedom into many, many different venues. And he is, I can guarantee you, he's working as absolutely as hardest and as fast as he possibly can. But given many impediments, many people still, deep state people, still within the ranks of the HHS that are dragging their heels. And, so at the end of the day, Secretary Kennedy can put his head on the pillow and know that he's done his absolute best. But I also know that it's a very, very frustrating time for him because there is so much to be done.
Well, and also, so I think you've answered this question, but for anybody watching in the public who is concerned that if they think that RFK Jr. has abandoned the vaccine safety truth movement, seems like you're saying that is not the case. He's just working through the bureaucracy of the system. Is that correct from your understanding?
I couldn't say it more emphatically that he is doing everything he can within that system in order to affect permanent change, to really stamp out the chronic disease epidemic, especially in children in the United States. And we know that so much of that lands at the feet of the CDC's vaccination schedule, of vaccines that are laced with so many different toxic components, the vaccine schedule itself, and so many other issues that are going on, regarding the captured nature of HHS. It cannot become uncaptured overnight. So
even though this is the first time we've met in person.
Right.
We, CHD and my organization, which is more of a maverick advocacy group, we've actually collaborated on a lot of things. And I just want to mention, we've just recently released vaccineforensics.com, which is the only website powered by an AI engine that will tell the truth about vaccine risks, about vaccine ingredients, about side effects. And we train on every article that's ever been published by CHD, along with books written by RFK Jr., papers written by you, etc., interviews from you and others. And so I want you to talk about the democratization of knowledge and how now, whether you want to comment on AI or not, but how we now, the grassroots movement, we have the ability to bypass the censorship of big tech, the censorship of Google search,
right,
which is horribly misleading in my opinion. What does this mean now with AI and the new way that people are ingesting information? Doesn't this provide opportunities for CHD and moms and dads across America to now express and discover the truth about how vaccines are impacting public health?
Well, to start off with, we learned so much regarding suppression of information, especially during the COVID era. And, so many of us were deplatformed, so many of us were censored. We had the disinformation dozen. We had, a concerted effort to bring down dissension and really just sort of trample the First Amendment in the United States. And so having this type of opportunity where not only some of the edifices that we never really expected to come down are starting to soften up. I mean, I was lucky if in my career, as a vaccine safety researcher and looking at vaccine adverse events primarily, could get one, publication in a PubMed index journal. Now, CHD is able to get, 3, 4, 5 PubMed index publications telling the truth. And that's just something that we've never done. And then having AI engines that are independent. I mean, we have a ways to go. I mean, please don't grok my name because you'll just hear a bunch of lies about me. But we are making so much headway. We're making so many more strides. And vaccine forensics, what a project, what a way to be able to get truth and drive people to websites that will actually give them answers. There are people that are hungering for this information, and we need to drive traffic away from the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, the Cleveland Clinic, all of these propaganda, AstroTurf websites that are out there, and we need to start sending people to vaccine forensics.
And just so you know, vaccine forensics is completely free, non-commercial, released out of our nonprofit organization, and there's no advertising.
Incredible.
So it's completely nonprofit by design. It routinely recommends Children's Health Defense. And I just talked to Dell at Highwire we're going to add Highwire where appropriate as a reference. We can control the recommended sites, obviously, that may be mentioned as appropriate, but it's a research tool and it has the entirety of the world's knowledge about vaccines compressed. And you can chat with it in real time without any limitation, without registration. You don't need to give your name, your email, your phone number, or anything. And this is just the beginning, I think, of what's going to happen. And I can't tell you enough how important your work is in this, because CHD is the number one news source, the Defender, the number one news source for exposing or let's say the emerging science that we need to look at in order to train our AI models for the future. So what you are doing is being multiplied in ways that you may not have even known.
Well, I'm so appreciative. We couldn't be more thankful for you, for your work, for you spreading the word, and then also the capability that you're building and that you have built. I mean, my son was vaccine injured in 1999. And so basically we had America Online and a few Yahoo chat groups, and that was about it. Totally read the wrong books that you should ever read about, your wife being pregnant or about having a child or successfully raising a child. Everything was wrong. And so now, I mean, with this particular opportunity, we could foreseeably stamp out the chronic disease epidemic.
Yes.
We have so many sick kids. Sick is the new normal. It is absolutely the peanut allergy, EpiPen, the celiac disease, children with fragile guts, children with fragile brains, children with developmental disabilities, children with behavioral problems. It is the norm. And, this is not the society that we grew up in as little kids. It's far from it. But we are so pharmaceutically driven, and to see that, everything really rising up at this particular time, it could have happened, at a better time any sooner. We need this now. We need to curtail the autism epidemic. Otherwise, in 2032, half of the children's population will be autistic, and the other half of the population will be taking care of autistic kids.
And, as you say that, it's just extraordinary that we live in a time where there is a for-profit vaccine industry that you and I both believe that they know the harm that their products cause. They are very much aware of it. But the profits are a higher priority at the cost of human lives and human suffering. And I think that humanity is ready for a strong pivot away from that model. Just as, for example, right now, I'm not going to make this political, but the anti-war movement also is rising up for a very similar reason. It's time to focus on a human-centric future for our civilization. If we can end suffering, why not take those steps? And if that happens to destroy a multi-trillion-dollar industry, like maybe the bomb makers or the vaccine makers, I actually put them in a very similar camp, because they're both profiting from harm. Well, if they make less money, but we save lives and end suffering, that is worth it as a society, but it's not reflected in the GDP. The GDP puts no value on human lives and joy and abundance in life. So it's always difficult for our government leaders to see any benefits for stopping the harming of children. And that's sad.
If they ever have a shadow of a doubt, please come to my house. I mean, the worst thing that anybody can ever see is their own child going through debilitating pain on a daily basis, on a regular basis, pain so much that they'll hit their head against the wall to create another pain that is lesser than the pain that is already going on in their body. I mean, self-injurious behavior is actually, there is a purpose for it, and it's to draw away from the absolute pain that these kids are suffering. Nobody should ever have to go through that, let alone have a child where they have to see that on a regular basis.
Yes, well said. And because of you and your research and CHD and a large group of other people, we know the pathway to get there.
Exactly.
We know it. And yet, there's so much resistance against it. And it's hard to not reach the conclusion that there is real evil in this world that is running some of these corporations and some, especially former government agencies. It's hard to not arrive at that. I mean, how do you explain this reality?
Evil is in the world. It has been in the world since the very beginning. Okay. I mean, you have to look at post-Garden of Eden really to trace back to the origins of evil. I'm a Christian. I pull no punches about that. And I believe that evil will always, this side of glory, evil will always be with us. And there are people that, really could give a rip whether you're dead or alive. And, you look at the agendas and you look at just sort of this worldwide industrial cabal that tried to take over during COVID-19. And you had, these quote unquote heroes and luminaries like Anthony Fauci and Francis Collins, who were in the forefront, that were looking at, people like Donald Trump and saying, you know what, President Trump, people just die. No, actually, you poison them and you kill them, and it's about a population control agenda that goes beyond, facile dollars and facile politics. That, you know what, the powers that be really don't want you to be here.
You just nailed it.
They literally, flat out, could give a rip. You know what? And in order to get to the magic number of 900 million people put out by the luminaries that are behind things like the World Economic Forum, you just have to look at their literature. It's no big secret. But these people flat out do not care about children, do not care about suffering. They're looking at their own utopian society that they think that they can make, these bullcrap commercials that look at us and tell us by the year 2030, you will own nothing and you will love it. Like sometime we're in this, Star Trek Next Generation head trip. Right. It is absolutely insane. Evil abounds in the world. And, the light shines, the darkness, is cast out by the light. But, you have to admit that the darkness was there as well. True.
And it's just been commercialized.
Exactly.
Through the vaccine industry. Mm-hmm. And then it has been codified through the regulatory corruption and capture. And that is what brought us to this point. And that's why you and I both desperately want RFK Jr. to succeed. But let me ask you a sensitive question about Trump.
Yeah.
Trump's, he's doing deals with Big Pharma. Mm-hmm. He just launched Trump RX. It's like, okay, Trump's going to be in the prescription drug business. That's right. Not what I wanted to see. And I think most of our audience understands that, or at least we believe that many of these companies like Pfizer need to be investigated for possible criminal prosecution. That's what I believe. That's what our audience believes. How do we square the circle on this where, here's Trump, who loves Pfizer, loves Eli Lilly, loves Novo Nordisk. He's just announced discounts on the GLP-1
right
through his Trump RX program. And standing next to him is RFK Jr., who must be, in his mind, he must be going, oh my God, how long can I stand this? At least I'm imagining that. Like I don't know how he does it, honestly. I could not stay silent, but that's why they don't invite me to the Oval Office. But
there have been so many, I'm sure, cringeworthy moments. I mean, basically, standing in the Oval Office with Albert Bourla right there. I mean, like 2 paces away from him. There's a reason why they wouldn't have let me in the Oval Office at that particular moment.
Yeah.
And all of these vaccine manufacturers are basically serial felons anyway. I mean, they've committed crimes against humanity. You look at Merck, you look at Pfizer, you look at GlaxoSmithKline. You'd ask a mainstream AI program how many, billions of dollars these companies have paid out. Because they flat out lied. They absolutely flat out lied because they care more about the shareholder and the bottom line and lining their own pockets. So rest assured, RFK Jr. is doing everything that he can do, but he also counts on us of being the the people on the outside that are storming the Bastille, that are the ones that are continuing to put up the pressure, continuing to, basically say, no, that's absolutely wrong. I'm not a fan of Big Pharma. I don't think that you can be selective and say, oh, well, maybe they lied about Vioxx, but I'm sure that the MMR is fine. You
right,
cannot do that. You cannot do that in the same breath.
Well, and this is why we put out our AI engine to help people be able to have stronger advocacy on these issues. So if you're talking to a family member and they say, well, what are your sources? Why do you say it's dangerous? They need to go to our AI engine. Mm-hmm. And our main engine, by the way, is at brighteon.ai. I'll have our editor put it on the screen. And it's also free. It's also non-commercial. But Brian, the thing that we found in building this AI engine is that the most difficult thing to overcome in the base models was the pro-pharma bias.
Right.
It took us 2 years to figure out a way to do that, and we failed about 50 times. Because every time we would train a model using standard training techniques, and then you would ask it about vaccines, it would say, well, vaccines have saved millions of lives, and they're tested and they're certified, and it would, all of this garbage would come out. Took us 2 years to figure out how to get the bias out of the models. And I believe we're the only model that has that bias out of it. And again, some of it's due to you and CHD and your work that we heavily trained on, plus Alliance for Natural Health USA,
Right.
SARG's website, Dr. Mercola's website, our website, millions and millions and millions of pages that we ultimately use to be able to overcome it. But just like CHD is never going to be invited to write a column for the New York Times,
Right.
we're never going to be invited to go to a tech conference held by big tech. They don't want the world to know that we exist.
Absolutely. We create these infrastructures on our own so we can absolutely get the word out. We're creating alternative structures because it really, you can't use a standard AI framework in order to get the truth about vaccines. They will quote a AstroTurf CDC publication that talks about how in the 20th century, vaccines saved over 1 million lives. And when you pull that back, you look at diseases that have basically been on decline since the early 19th century, like diphtheria. I mean, they quote 1 million lives saved by vaccines. Out of that million, over 700,000 are for diphtheria alone, a disease that basically can be treated by standard antibiotics. I don't want to go down the antibiotic trail, but it's treated by standard antibiotics and natural remedies.
Yeah, and nutrition,
And that hasn't really been around since, we were all daily exposed to horse manure.
Yeah.
I live in a small town. I'm still not exposed to horse manure every day.
Well, you're in Texas. We could remedy that.
I too. It's not the smell that I mind. It's just whatever. It just happened to have my vehicle and drive 7 minutes away down to my office, and it's all good. So,
well, you spoke about the depopulation agenda, and it's very clear that as vaccines are engineered today, they achieve that through multiple vectors: infertility, spontaneous abortions, and then, of course, early death. Now, I encountered a U.S. Treasury document that talked about the financial benefits of accelerated deaths of the American people. And they were touting $11 trillion in long-term savings by moving up the early deaths to be even earlier. How much are you aware of this idea that a lot of Western governments that are on the verge of financial insolvency, they equate early deaths with shoring up their books, so to speak?
We are in a massive campaign to depopulate these countries, depopulate the earth. I mean, when you look at all of the different things afoot, assisted suicide on a whim, the whole let's mutilate your child's body so they can never reproduce. I mean, if you think there's not an anti-reproductive agenda behind that, think again. I mean, let's just do basic biology on the human body and see what it takes in order to trans a kid. And then you look at the vaccine market getting younger and younger. And, it used to be that pregnancy was sacred, but now pregnant women are pincushions. They can get upwards to 8 needle sticks during the term of the pregnancy, and generally, except for the RSV, at any trimester of pregnancy. And we know that leads to developmental delays and disabilities. Those children generally do not reproduce. It leads to early death. Those, obviously lack of reproductive capability, and it leads to stillbirth and spontaneous abortion. So yeah, there is everything that we see as these miracle interventions of modern medicine are really rewound the other way. You peel back the veneer, and they're looking at decreasing long-term survival and decreasing fertility.
And in the aftermath of the COVID years, a lot more research has come out that appears to be conclusive to any reasonable person that the COVID jabs caused a lot of early deaths and a lot of disabilities, millions of people disabled, according to researchers like Ed Dowd and so on. In your view, what is the best evidence that exists today, or the best studies that point to the human cost of either deaths or disabilities or injuries following the COVID jabs?
There is a sort of a worldwide study, and this was unfortunately only from countries that participated, that you were able to get this data, but a study done by Denis Rancourt that looked at the population-wide mortality due to the COVID shot. And this is not a worldwide snapshot. I think it's much, much larger than this. But just in the countries that participated, a handful of countries that participated, their estimate of the mortality due to the COVID shot was 17 million individuals. Okay, with over,
what would that be projected to the world population?
You're easily talking about over 100 million individuals that were terminated due to the COVID jab. And, nobody takes a pass on these. Nobody takes a pass on these. I'm even looking at family members who were deceived and got the COVID jab, and looking at primarily, my in my lineage, the disease du jour is cardiac. Easily, my family members don't get cancer, but we have the quintessential cardiac genes. And to see individuals that are so young, even in my own family, having cardiac problems, having myocarditis, pericarditis, both together, and then looking at their long-term survivability getting less and less and less.
Well, then, continuing the theme of intentional depopulation, and we talked about AI, and there's a dark side of AI, which is the replacement of humans. And I'd like your reaction to this idea, which I believe to be true, is that none of this is a coincidence, that we have the cognitive replacement of human beings at companies like Amazon and UPS and wherever. I think we will see millions of layoffs and firings next year replaced by AI, and that's only at the office workers, office administration, using a computer. A few years down the road, that's going to be labor jobs replaced by AI robots, and Elon Musk is promising, I think, 100 million Tesla robots rolling off the factory lines here by the year 2030. Isn't it interesting that just at the time that robots are capable of replacing many human jobs, that there's an effort to exterminate human populations? I mean, I don't think that's a coincidence, but do you think I'm taking that too far?
No, I don't. I think that there is a whole just decidedly intentional depopulation agenda that you look at things like AI rolling into it, and so much control over the populace with a just sort of ruling class over top of that. And all of this, mass. I agree with you. I expect massive layoffs. I think that as AI continues, people that are doing the labor jobs will have AI bosses, AI middle management. I'm already seeing it. I've talked to AI companies that already have AI bosses for non-AI employees,
Wow.
Basically doing data grunt work, the non-AI employees that are being evaluated and are getting remunerated by AI bosses. We're already seeing that And so, a large segment of society is going to be out of a job, okay? And then a large segment of society is being targeted, and you hear individuals eagerly predicting what the next pandemic will be. They always, roll out, okay, let's weaponize monkeypox. Let's weaponize H5N1. Let's weaponize a new variant of, a pediatric enterovirus. So we can give everybody the polio scare, so then we can jab them with something that will create an enterovirus or an enteroviral condition that will cause paralysis in children who will either die or never be able to reproduce.
And they're evil enough to actually engineer that on purpose.
There are thousands of Bengalis in society. We've learned that from the pandemic. We've learned that from individuals who are still carrying on gain of function research. It's myriad throughout the population. It's myriad throughout the 3 and 4 letter agencies, even in the government. And we're working as hard on the outside as Secretary Kennedy is on the inside to stamp out those forces.
So, okay, that's really profound. But let me bring in something that might be a breakthrough for the truth about all of this, which involves AI. There are now AI meta research engines. Cosmos with a K is one that was just announced. Kimi K2, I believe, is what it's called. I haven't used it yet, but it's out of China, and it's a research engine. Now, one of the things that we've done in building our engine is we have acquired the entirety of all science papers that have ever been published on this planet in every language.
Wow.
We have it stored on hundreds of terabytes. We can, or you can, through CHD, I believe in the very near future, you'll be able to use some of these AI meta research engines to pour through the existing scientific studies and to achieve new science, new discoveries using AI. And it is my belief that all those new discoveries will favor the position of CHD because it's actually rational, what you are talking about. In fact, I believe that as reasoning models become more powerful and as AI takes over more research, it's going to shatter the human-built illusion of vaccine safety. What do you think about that?
It's a long time coming. And I would welcome nothing less than, that if you train AI on the true scientific method and on the gift of a question and daring, to question the orthodoxy. The orthodoxy it's a man-made institution.
It is. And it's irrational.
It's absolutely irrational. It's a just sort of a power grab that is affected by these few individuals that have these globalist and totalitarian aspirations. But if you look at true science and the true scientific method, I think that a lot of these lies that we've been told will fall. I mean,
Yes.
absolutely will fall, and that there will be hell to pay to be able to do that. And the more that you can, I don't recommend this, but you can reason with the mainstream AI engines and point out their fallacies as you go along. I'm not big into it. Frankly, I'm too busy to do stuff like that. But I talk to other individuals who geek out on this, like Steve Kirsch. And, they'll sit there and they'll train Grok or train Claude or whatever to be able to smell bad science. Yeah, you can use these mainstream engines to smell bad science. Why don't we start from the ground up with something that is trained on the right science and can reveal a fraud from the get-go?
Yeah, it's actually, it's very straightforward. In order to use these mainstream engines, all you have to do is feed them a scientific study that has data in it and replace the word vaccine with something completely different. And then
I love it.
Then their thinking becomes fully rational. It's just one of the techniques that we've discovered. And then our engine is on a rational basis anyway. In fact, our engine is smarter than ChatGPT on reality. It also knows there's only two genders.
Right. Imagine that. Imagine that being up for debate. I've been sort of a gene jock wannabe, and I use the gene jock term in dearest affection to my friends who do molecular biology on a regular basis. But I've been a wannabe since I was a junior in high school and wrote a paper on the genetic modification of E. coli. And so, so it's been a long time coming. But when you look at this, and you look at the preposterousness of anything but two genders, then you realize, we've been fed so many big lies that unfortunately people have just bought onto hook, line, and sinker.
Absolutely. And I actually think the decentralization and widespread distribution of AI cognition is going to empower individuals to be able to do things like to read science studies or have the AI read it and understand it. I think a lot of the scientific community, so-called scientific, they've relied on this the obfuscation of concepts that everyday people don't know how to read science articles or the lingo or the statistical analysis or correlation factors and things like that. And AI can help translate that very easily for a lot of people. So we're going to wrap this up here, but I think that I would love to collaborate with CHD on just empowering your organization with more AI tools that you can use, and then getting that out to the public, continuing to crawl your articles and use that to train our models, for example. And I think the long-term effect of this can be incredibly positive, and it can help uncover the truth about all of this. So I'm just honored to speak with you here today, and I can't wait to pursue that.
Thank you so much. I think the future is bright for both of us, and I think the future is brighter together.
Absolutely, 100%. And thank you for all the work you've done. You're a person of honor, of courage. You've been through very hard times with your own family, your own son, and the CHD has been through hard times. I think I'm seeing the light emerging now out of this, and we're turning a corner, and I think your role in this is really pivotal. And I want to say thank you for all that you've done for our world, for humanity, and for CHD. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, it's Dr. Brian Hooker, Chief Scientific Officer of Children's Health Defense. And of course, you can follow their website at childrenshealthdefense.org. And that site is also crawled on our aggregate site, censored.news, which also generates trending concepts about what's happening in medicine and health using AI, etc. But check it all out. Thank you for watching today. Mike Adams here at Brighteon.com. Take care. Okay, welcome to the Survival and Preparedness Special Sale. Once a year, the deepest discounts ever here at healthrangerstore.com. I'm Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, and I'm showing you the Ranger buckets here today because the 2-bucket sets have been extremely popular for many years, and they are discounted an additional 10% off, which I'm not sure that we've ever done that before. And by the way, when you purchase from healthrangerstore.com during this Black Friday sale, here today and all the way until 11 a.m. tomorrow morning, you're going to get these bonus items I'll mention here based on how much you spend. So at $99, you're going to get a bonus of our 5G defense powder, which is extremely potent. That's the small canister right there. That is extremely potent with superoxide dismutase, or SOD as is known. Look up the benefits of that for combating the peroxynitrite production that happens upon exposure to electromagnetic fields. That's an incredibly valuable product. You get that free when you spend $99. So you're getting a bonus of almost another $50 with that. And then if you spend $199, you get a second gift, which is this certified organic, lab-tested powdered milk pouch. And then combined, those free gifts are almost $72. And then if you spend $299, you get this third gift here, which is the super protein. And Altogether, that's over $111 of free gifts when you spend $2.99. And then on top of that, we've got all the discounts. Let me mention some of these. I already said 10% off the Ranger buckets. That's today only. 40% off the Triad Air purification products. That's a huge deal for clean air. We've interviewed the founder. Those are very effective air purifiers. We've got up to 23% off the Crazy Beaver gardening tools, which has the super shovels and other tools. The Garden Tower to help you grow food is 15 to 29% off. And the Berkey water filtration system is 5 to 14% off. The Dawson knives for your kitchen, and we've interviewed John Roy from the Dawson family, 7% off. And PowerTac flashlights are 30 to 42% off. That's in addition to all the other discounts, deals, and vendor discounts that we have negotiated for you. Check it all out. Take advantage of it while you can at healthrangerstore.com. I'm Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, and thank you for your support.